Okay, we should be live soon-ish. We are live, I think. I lost track of time. It happens. I'm wearing the wig that never sits right. And I'm going to do my eyes live on camera, so it's all... Kia ora! Tēnā koe. Tēnā koe. Hello to one. Oh, John's here. Perfect. Tēnā korua. Hello to two. Tēnā koutou. Hello to all. Haere mai. Oh, it's only the two of you. Well, fuck that then. How's it going? I slept till 1:30 today and it was fantastic. I want to do it again all the time. I've fed cats, but they want more. That's not really news, that's just forever. Had a catch-up call yesterday with Dad and Tali, although it was just me and Dad, and then Dad called Tali, so it wasn't all of us. Oh! Package day, wonderful. I have a t-shirt that's supposed to be arriving from AliExpress, or was supposed to. Printers are confusing. It was supposed to turn up, and it says, if you think I'm a bitch, you should meet my sister, but somehow, I think the post... Oh, fishing rods. Ooh. I think the post office is afraid of my sister, and it's been stuck in transit for about a month. And it's like, she said it was fine. She said I could have it. She thought it was funny. But no, they're terrified. Don't actually have any burgundy eyeshadow, so we'll see what this does. It's a dark purple colour called Haunted, which I think is quite a nice name. You've missed every video! Oh no! Oh no! Yeah, I always recap. This one's not a silly one, so I'm not doing silly voices. It's a, hey, let's enjoy this story about a vampire that doesn't want to have sex with a teenager. Yep. Well, Althea is a girl who has no friends at high school, and she wants to be a cheerleader super bad. She wants to have friends and all of that. And she lives in a spooky house where there's a tower called the Shuttered Room because it's got shutters on the inside and the outside. And in her family, no one ever goes in there. Right? You're never meant to go in there. So, naturally, as we do, Althea goes in there. She opens up the shutters, and a vampire pops out, and he's like, I heard you wanted to be popular. That's super easy for me to do. Like, I could totally do that for you. Thing is, you gotta bring me a person. Yeah, we've never seen any of her family, but not in a, like, they're missing kind of way. Just, they just don't seem to matter to the story, so they're just never mentioned. It's like she lives there by herself. So the vampire's like, yeah, I'll give you popularity. I'll give you a spot in the cheerleading team. Like, it's all good. But you gotta give me a person to take all that shit from and give to you. And also, you know, I'll feed on them and it'll make them, like, it won't make them die, but it will make them super tired. They'll be like a shell of their former selves, you know. But you'll get all of that. You'll get all that sparkle and popularity and all that shit. So Althea chooses a girl on the cheerleading team, Celeste, who's like 14. I always forget how young high schoolers actually are. She's like, oh, it's not fair Celeste is on the team. She's so bubbly and pretty, but she's only 14. It's like, it's my time, I should have it. And the vampire's like, yeah, Celeste, that sounds fucking cool as hell. Give me Celeste. So she's like, oh, moral dilemma, do I give him Celeste or not? What does that mean, that she'll be tired? And then she decides, I don't actually give a shit, and brings Celeste home. And we don't see what happens after that. But we do see that the next day, everyone's super nice to Althea. They all know her name. There are going to be tryouts for the cheerleading team because Celeste is suddenly massively clinically depressed and looks like she has, what's that one that's not depression, but it's just like in the body? Chronic fatigue. It's like she got the chronic fatigues and the body depression, as we call it in medicine. There we go. And Althea's like, oh no, what have I done? This is, oh, Celeste, oh, that sucks. But also, it rules so hard hanging out with Kimmy Jo and Dusty, who are cheerleaders. And Becky, who's a cheerleader, but she's a junior or freshman or whatever it is. Althea is. She's 15 as well. 16. And some boys. Oh, also, Danny and Evelyn pointed this out, and then I saw it. Althea is super gay, but she doesn't know. So she's in love with all these girls for various reasons. She doesn't actually know. She thinks she has a crush on Michael, who got a car for his birthday. And literally all we know about Michael is that he was born at some point. So he has a car. And Ryan, who's kind of like Michael, but not as good. Where's my phone? Oh, here it is. He's a boy who exists as well. Yeah, they're super two-dimensional. Ryan had a feature of some kind. What was it? He was athletic or something? Anyway, Althea gets on the squad, and everyone loves it. They think she's super great. And the vampire's like, yeah. So you're going to have a party at your house, right? Oh yeah, Ryan eats. Yeah, Ryan can eat a Big Mac in 4 bites, which is pretty important. So Althea is in love with herself, and his hands are big, yeah. And he has a masculine presence, which is what she likes. On the other hand, Michael's girlfriend, Constance, is elegant and beautiful and kind, and looking at her makes Althea shiver all the way up her spine, and yeah. Sorry, chewing gum. Oh yeah, it's the way that the teen mind is portrayed is really good. Althea's like, oh, when I can see something, I feel bad about it. But when I can't, I'm like, I'm in the exclusive booth at Pizza Hut. I'm in the Pizza Hut corner booth with the cheerleaders. Oh my god. Other Josh. I am getting ready to hydrate and read. That was what I forgot to do before I hit play. Record was get a drink. So I'm going to do that. But we're recapping everything for Josh Good. Or Fear. Which one were you? I can't remember. So yeah, Althea's like, oh, we totally have a party at my house. That'll be awesome. Yeah, definitely. And she goes home, and the vampire's like, oh, you're having a party at your house. That's awesome. Like, who are you going to give me? She's like, so beautiful. It gives her the shivers. Yeah. It's extremely lesbicious. Once you know. He's good because he's a good person. Like a room full of wonderful cats. So yeah, the vampire's like, oh, who are you going to give me at your party? And she's like, I'm not giving you shit. I'm a cheerleader. I don't have to give you anything. Okay, wow, I have to see that song. And then the vampire's like, oh, yeah, no, Evelyn, oh no, I can't recap everything and text Evelyn. I'll text in a second. Yeah, Althea loves the image of herself with Ryan. Like, I don't think she likes him as much as she likes the idea of the image she's presenting with him. So, yeah, I'm definitely gonna... I'll text her now and then I'll carry on. So the party happens. And it's great. And the vampire is like, just let me know who you choose to give to me. Because if you don't give me somebody, I'll take all this shit away. Like, this isn't yours forever. We didn't do a deal. We did a thing. I took the thing, gave it to you. And now, I want another one. I can take it all away. Don't doubt me. You two. I couldn't be bothered writing the same word. And the vampire goes, you don't have to bring them to the tower or nothing. Like, just put your arm around the person that you want, that you designate, like the Judas kiss. So Althea, completely forgetting about this as the party goes on, because she's having such a good time at the party, reconnects with her childhood best friend Jenny. And Jenny's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry that I abandoned you during high school. That was so shitty of me. Like, let's never ever be not friends again. And Althea's like, oh my god, I want to be your friend so much again. That's so great. And puts her arm around her. And then she's like, oh shit. So anyway, we have not seen Jenny again. We've seen Celeste back at school. Like, all the life's been sucked out of her and everyone's just impatient with her for being so tired. And Jenny has not come back to school, the former best friend. The shit requires upkeep, exactly. He's like, you let me out. What did you think was going to happen? I'm a vampire. I'm not like a lawyer. I'm not a one-time deal. So Althea tries to... What does she do? Oh yeah, when she goes into the... Gallagher fucking vending machine. Exactly. Yeah, R.I.P. Jenny. Well, the spark of life withinst her. And also the descriptions of, what happens after the vampire takes somebody. They're really good descriptions of intense clinical depression. So Althea's like, oh my god, I'll never do that again, that sucks. But then she's in the corner booth at Pizza Hut with Ryan and Michael and Dusty and Kimmy Joe. Dude, Kimmy Joe was there. And she's like, no, it's all worth it. Fuck it. I'm in the corner booth at Pizza Hut. Everything was worth it. And then one of the other cheerleaders, Becky, rings her up and she's like, oh, let's be best friends. And they're like chatting and laughing. And Althea's like, oh my god, I love having a best friend. I love Becky so much. You should sleep over at my house. And she's like, oh, but actually, can we sleep over at your house? Because, my house... Kimmy Joe, because you know what it's like. And Becky's like, yeah, parents, am I right? And she's like, oh yeah, parents, that's definitely the problem with my house. Yeah, he's an emotional vampire. He's Colin Robinson. She's like, oh my god, Becky. Community had a lot of good jokes to steal. Yeah, we're gonna have a sleepover at your house. That rules. I love having friends. And she hangs up the phone and the vampire's like, Yeah, I'm having Becky. So, Althea doesn't really like that very much. Oh, nothing is ever going to be enough for this fucking guy. But to be fair, he just woke up. He's hungry. Althea goes over to Becky's place for a sleepover, and they have a pretty good time. Becky's bedroom is all different shades of purple, and it sounds disgusting. Oh, the vampire is not as tacky as Becky's bedroom, trust me. Becky has her own phone in her bedroom, which as a kid I thought was just the height of sophistication and elegance. And the phone is also purple. So Althea's like, no, vampire, you can't have her, you bitch. And the vampire's like, oh. Okay, well, I'm just going to give you a little taste of what it would be like for me to, like, vampire you. And she doesn't like it. She feels so tired. She can't even care that she's tired and she wants to, you know, just sleep forever. And then in the morning, Althea feels fine. Oh, that was probably my imagination, she thinks, like a dipshit. But Becky is tired. No one really knows how the vampire, like, transfers himself from place to place. It's a very mystical thing. So Althea runs home and she goes, fuck you, vampire, I hate you, I'm gonna shut all the shutters in the shuttered room. Oh, that's adorable. Oh, the bedroom combo. Not the vampire taking a ride in Althea's body. That's not adorable. That's disgusting. But probably accurate. Okay, so she tried to shut the shutters in the shuttered room. And then she's like, ha! I've shut the shutters. Fuck you, vampire. And she turns around and the door is shut. She didn't shut him in. He shut her in with him. So she's in the attic room and she's feeling vampired. She's very, very scared. The shutters did have an opinion about it, yeah. So, the last little bit we covered, shoots a shot and shuts the shutters. I cannot remember if she got them all shut, but yeah. She was all excited and then the door was shut. This vampire is hilarious. I love him. He's horrible, but like, he knows exactly how to fuck with a teenager and their psychology and shit. And not to fuck them, which is incredible for a YA vampire. So, you know, good for him. Good for him. He's not all bad. I need some wig glue. This hairline keeps slipping back. Doesn't matter. So, the end of the last chapter. Althea felt awfully tired. She's feeling the foil of his fingertips on her skin. That sucks. The inside shutters refused. That's right. I'm letting it happen, Althea thought. I'm giving in. It seems I have made a choice and I've chosen to surrender. Ruh-roh. She tried to see what was happening, but there was nothing to see. Nothing but dark, darker, darkest, ... End of chapter. So we start with chapter 20, and I'm going to go get a drink. And now you're all caught up, Josh. She has given them Celeste, Jenny, and Becky. Oh, you got to read the rest of it. Or listen to it, or whatever. I'll send you a link if you need like the book, but a legal link to buy the book. But yeah, the descriptions of how gross and scary the vampire is are amazing. The descriptions of the teenage mind are amazing as well. Like, yeah. It really reminds me of how shitty it was to be a teenager. Alright, so we're ready. Just gonna put my glass somewhere safe. By which I mean plastic cup. And here we go, chapter 20, at 20 minutes in, not bad. A horn honked. A vehicle had pulled into the driveway below. How 21st century! The horn's call pierced the tower room, as sunshine could not. Where light cannot travel, sound can. How beautiful is sound! The driver leaned again on his wheel, and the glorious scream of a car's horn penetrated the tower. No louvres or shutters, no dust, no vampire could stop sound. Althea smiled into the dark, and immediately the dark was less. A smile, she thought. Happiness. Another weapon. I must remember all these. Sound and joy. They obliterate the enemy. She straightened, flung back her hair, and opened her eyes wide. It was still dark, but now the dark was curiously friendly. Who had said to Althea that he thought of the dark as a friend? Ryan. She waited a moment, hoping her brain would sort out the voices of the weak and remember. Her feet moved. The nails that had held her to the wooden boards had evaporated. Her hands moved. The paralysis was gone. She walked forward in the dark, encountering nothing until she touched the wall. And it was only a wall. Plaster. Her hands scrabbled outward until she'd found the first window. Don't drive away, whoever you are, she thought. UPS, FedEx, distant relatives, just stay in the drive. She lifted the glass without a struggle. The window squeaked slightly, as if relaxing, as if it had wanted to be open. And the iron pins that trapped the outside shutters, they slid up as if just greased. The shutters, too, yearned to swing open. Throwing them apart, Althea leaned out the window for the second time that day. And it was Ryan. He's the one to whom the dark is a friend, thought Althea, and now he saved me from the dark. Sunshine poured over her like orange juice from a pitcher. She bathed in the warm yellow liquid. It was so welcome, so delightful. Althea felt as if she could quite get a tan, even though it was winter. She smiled at the sun, and then she laughed, and the vampire was driven away. Hey, Althea! Ryan yelled. Wait, she thought. Don't talk to me yet. I almost understood. It crept partly into my mind. What was it? What did I half know about the vampire and about me? Ryan, what are you doing here? So glad to see you. I was just driving by and I felt this overpowering desire to stop in. You know how it is. No, I don't know, thought Althea. What overpowered him? Whose desire was it? What car are you driving? She yelled. It looks like a car with 4 working doors. Ryan's old car was a piece of shit. It's my father's. I'm running an errand for him. I'm supposed to be getting sandpaper from the hardware store. You're miles from a hardware store, she yelled back. I've lost it, she thought. Whatever I nearly understood, I've lost. Yep, I'm taking advantage. When you have a car, you have to do your own errands as well. You're in the tower room. Can I come up? I'm dying to see that room. Not a good choice of words. So she shook her head. You stay there, Ryan. Oh, come on, Althea. Why are you so stingy with visiting hours? He had to shade his eyes to see her. Stay in the sun, she thought. It's safe in the sun. It's not night, and you don't have your telescope. I always have my telescope, yelled Ryan. Ryan is into astronomy. It came out of nowhere. Brandishing it. He was not wearing a jacket, although it was cold. She imagined that she could see his muscles under the dark crimson sweater that covered his arms. Oh, he's got muscles and a telescope. Muscles, she thought. What door could stand up to Ryan? He could probably break a lock by turning the handle. The sun's shining too brightly, Ryan, she said. You won't see any stars. But I can get oriented, he said, and figure out what I'm going to see when I do see it. He could close the shutters. That was the answer. Althea. It's one of those names that means like God is good or God is everywhere or it's something about God. Together they would shut the vampire out forever. Or in. Whichever it was. What if I do it wrong? Thought Althea. What if I accidentally lock the vampire out of doors forever, and he's free to attack forever? I don't know which side of the shutters he has to be on. I don't want to interject too much in this story because it is actually quite good. But there are two sets of shutters, the indoor shutters and the outside shutters. I feel like maybe he has to be between them. But I actually don't know because I can't remember the ending, so it just seems logical that she would kind of think that at some point. Fucking wig, it keeps slipping backwards. It's important. It's important. It's a lace front wig, so it was more expensive than the ones with bangs, but I haven't figured out how to wear it properly yet. And it was a gift, so technically it wasn't expensive at all for me. But anyway. So I don't know what side of the shutters he has to be on. The sun vanished beneath a cloud. The smile on her face was replaced by fear. The temperature of the wind and the world was lower. It's dark in this room, she thought, and I have my back to a vampire. Ryan, she screamed. I haven't gone anywhere, he said, grinning upward. Turn on your car radio. Dance for me. Literally says that. Do what? Come again? Turn on your car radio. Hard rock, rap, techno. Something that hurts the ears. Ryan was affronted. It doesn't hurt my ears, he told her. I love that kind of music. Good. Turn it up all the way. Ryan bent over and leaned inside his father's car, turning the key halfway to get battery power, and the radio surrounded Ryan in a mist of throbbing drums and pounding rap. Music to scare vampires by, she thought. Ryan obeyed her. He was dancing. She loved watching him. He hardly moved his feet, but his hips swayed, doing the boys' high shuffle. Either I get to come up, or you have to come down, screamed Ryan over the blaring music. We've never danced together, she thought. We'll dance, Ryan and I. We'll dance tonight, and we'll dance tomorrow, and we'll dance our lives away. I'll come down, she yelled to Ryan, and knew that she could. The door would open easily when she touched it. She was not trapped, and perhaps she never had been, except by her own fear. She walked out of the tower room, and held its door open, and looked back in at the grimy shutters and the window she'd left open. Wind and rain would come in now too, but that was all right. Wind and rain were friends, like the dark. In the hall, under the lamp, she said to the vampire, So there. She could not see him or smell him, but she knew he was around. His voice materialized, but not his form. So you're going dancing, said the vampire. Just don't forget who gave you the chance to dance. You owe me. I owe you nothing. You took more than you should have. Althea continued on out of the house, across the porch, down the stairs and over the gravel. Ryan was still dancing. When Althea reached him, he took her hands and they danced together. Her dancing style was completely different. She flung herself forward, flung herself back, and launched toward him again. This sounds like Sweet Dee dancing like one of the big balloon men in Always Sunny. I'm not saying that, hilarious dancing doesn't scare away vampires, because obviously it does. I'm just acknowledging that it is very funny. Yeah, neither of these dances would scare a vampire, but it might put them off, being like, ew. Not them. I don't want them. They laughed, and the music screamed, and he said, I want to see your tower room.
Oh, no, it really is haunted and you can't go up there. Ryan's face split in a delighted grin. But you can go up. The haunt doesn't bother you. It bothers me on a daily basis. Tell you what, I'll go up there and beat it to death. Tell you what, we'll drive to Pizza Hut and see everybody. Yeah, okay. I'm an agreeable type person. Ryan finished his dance and slipped into the driver's seat. Althea finished her dance, circled the car, and put her hand on the shiny chrome handle of the passenger door. I like this car, said the vampire conversationally. Blood red. It's a nice colour. Go away, she whispered. You want to dance with Ryan? The vampire whispered back. Fine. Dance. But every dance is a debt to me. End of chapter. That is such a weird... Oh, Ryan has the personality of a golden retriever, except... one thing I forgot in the recap, Althea is finding out that the popular crowd are perhaps not genuine friends with each other. Because when Celeste got tired, they all just kind of dropped her and got annoyed and then stopped talking about her. Jenny, they didn't really know. And Becky, I assume they're going to be bitches about at the same time. Ryan included. He was like, oh my god, Celeste is so boring now that she's clearly mighty sick. Yeah, you mentioned food. Oh, I want pizza. Wonderful. So I'm sorry, Josh, that chapter was the first one you've heard of this story, because it is the goofiest chapter. I think it's meant to be funny. It is funny, but it's a weird tone to jump in on. Like, it's going to be different from the rest of the story. But anyway, chapter 21. Becky was at Pizza Hut. Althea vibrated like a guitar string. How would this happen? Becky, cried Althea. When I left this morning, you were sick as a dog, said Becky cheerfully. I was wiped. Althea's head was whirling. She felt like a one-woman roller coaster. What do you think was wrong? Said Kimmy Jo. I don't know, but I had to get well, explained Becky simply. Next weekend's the biggest game of the season, and I'm the one that you and Dusty are throwing into the air and catching during the halftime routine. How could I ruin it by coming down with some dumb flu? They're cheerleaders, by the way. And also that person is called the Flyer. But I guess they're not going to use, like, technical terminology in a fucking book for kids. And I fucking miss it. I miss it so much. I miss it with my life. I'll find something new. Like becoming a vampire. Go back to my initial plan for my career. Ryan said, it was probably too damp and chilly last night in your yard. We shouldn't have gone outside. Althea's whole soul felt damp and chilly. Becky said, you know what? I swear, when I was dancing around trying to get Althea to come outside, the shadows felt like liquid moss. Kimmy Jo screamed. That's so scary, Kimmy Jo whispered. Green, wet, shadowy stuff closing in on you? Ew. I foiled him, thought Althea, exulting. I got her inside before anything happened. I am a match for that vampire. Well, I could become that vampire. It seems like a pretty good gig. You just trick teenagers. Oh, wait. No. I'm thinking of Hollywood sex pests. Sorry. I don't want to become one of them. Another thing early on, the vampire told Althea that she wasn't in danger from him because he wasn't. They were a match for one another. You know, she opened the shutters. He's the vampire. They're a match for each other. And after that, you know, she's been wondering, is that true? Rather than, He lied to me because he's a fucking vampire. Anyway, Becky said, my mother thinks it's overwork. You wouldn't believe how she carried on. Too much homework, too many papers, too much cheerleading practice, too many hours on the telephone? Kimmy Jo nodded. Probably those hours on the phone. Have some nice nutritious snacks while the other person's talking to keep your strength up. Cookies or brownies, and then you'll be fine. Kimmy Jo seemed completely serious. In my family, said Becky, a nutritious snack is a banana or an apple. Kimmy Jo was appalled. I don't do fruit, she said, or vegetables either. But do you do pizza? Said Ryan. Pizza is always the solution. And they all cheered for pizza. Althea cheered loudest and longest, and she thought, I won. How intrepid I am. I got out of the tower room in spite of the vampire. I saved Becky after all. What power I have. How incredible I am. And again, this is the teenage mindset masterclass. Somebody put coins in the jukebox. They're playing my favourite song this week, said Ryan. Althea, dance with me. You can't dance in Pizza Hut, said Althea. Why not? They put music on, don't they? Do they expect us just to sit here? Of course not. Ryan stood up, held out his hand. Because this is the year 1991 when it was published, I'm assuming that the song they're dancing to is something like Let's Talk About Sex or Skills or, you know, a classic kind of... It was my first school disco. Okay, I remember those songs. 6 years old. It was the disco for the children. Yeah, it sounds like they're the only people in there, but they're not. They're just in the really popular people corner bitch. Oh, she's not realizing anything because she is not currently looking at the vampire and she's a teenager. I don't think she can understand anything that she can't, you know, literally see. Before I was popular, thought Althea, I would never have done this. I would have felt like a weirdo and a jerk. I would have been embarrassed. I would have died first. But she and Ryan began dancing between the dark, glossy tables while other patrons laughed and watched. She began showing off, which was not natural to her. Ryan was a born show-off. No, she thought, it's that he was born popular. Popularity all your life makes it possible to dance in the aisles. Hi, Evelyn. It's okay. The first 20 minutes we're catching Josh M up on the entire book because he hasn't seen it, but he does want to watch this video. Which was a lot of fun, recapping the entire thing. Like, it was not a burden to any of us. I think we all enjoyed going over the story as we know it. Ryan was also born at some point. Oh, advantage Ryan. Now Michael has nothing. Oh no, Michael's got his own car. And Constance, most beautiful woman in the world. Which makes Althea believe in the power of love, and that's all that happens. Her eyes examined every patron in the restaurant. She saw that popularity, or lack of it, knew no age barrier. There was a little girl, maybe 6 years old, dancing next to her parents. And that little girl was blonde and beautiful, and Althea knew this girl's destiny was to be popular. At another table, children stared enviously, but never dreamed of leaving their seats. 2 elderly women, alone with their grey hair and wrinkled hands, watched Althea with such sadness that Althea knew they were not remembering their youth when they danced with abandon. They were remembering a youth in which nobody asked them to dance. I, thought Althea fiercely, will be the one who dances, not the one who yearns. I'm sorry about Celeste and Jenny, but I won't let that happen again, and I'm not giving up what I have. So there, vampire. Again, teenage thought processes. paragraph break where we go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. Paragraph break where we pick up again in a few minutes. This fucking thing is so itchy. I'm not swapping wigs. It is itchy though. A little while later, the football team sat in the front of the bus. Every boy wore a jacket and tie and looked both distinguished and uncomfortable. Ryan's energy overflowed. Twisting in his seat, Ryan yelled back to Althea, lustily sang verses of bus songs, and threw paper airplanes at the coach. Really big assumptions. Asset of ump and shun. Ryan, the coach kept saying tiredly, save it for the game. I have more than the game needs. Yeah, say that when we've won, said the coach. Althea loved watching the boys when they were apprehensive. Somehow, boys never looked as if they got scared. Certainly not football players. It was rather satisfying to know that yes, they too got anxious and tense and tied in knots. Oh, I want to hear about your big day back at school, Evelyn, after this. Like, not right now, probably. It would be a bit strange. Michael, the best of them, the most athletic, the most capable, was certainly the most nervous. Since it was an away game, a whole new school's worth of girls would shortly see Michael for the first time. Woo! Althea knew well how their eyes would caress and memorize him. I've always wanted Michael, thought Althea, but now I don't. Isn't that amazing? Michael is such perfection. Every inch of him is splendid. I've had Michael memorized for years. I'll keep him tucked in my mind, something to observe and admire, but not to have. I like it that he and Constance are a pair. Okay, here we go. We're about to get lesbicious in a way that Althea doesn't understand, but Evelyn and Danny have no trouble with. The fact that Michael does have a long-term girlfriend makes it make a lot more sense that she fixed on Michael, because he's impossible to have. She looked out the back of the bus. The fan bus was behind them, and she knew Constance was on it. She knew Constance would sit directly behind the cheerleaders, 4 bleachers up, so that the cheerleaders did not block her view of Michael playing, but so she was still in the thick of the action. Ryan sent Althea a paper airplane and she sent it back. From the gentleman at the front of the bus. That's what the posh buses have. Like, a special valet will bring your... Like a Jeeves will bring the paper airplane to the girl you like. And that Constance is impossible to have, yeah, that too. She likes them together so that she can fantasize about either of them risk-free. He sent Althea a paper airplane. She sent it back. How lovely popularity is, Althea thought. It gives you choices. If you don't feel like talking, nobody thinks it's because you're such a loser no one would talk to you anyway. You can sort through the boys and girls around you and pick exactly who you want. And with popularity, you have time to know what you want. You aren't taking the dregs or the leftovers. You have the winners. And it's a matter of choosing your own particular winner. Ryan and 2 other boys began throwing a pair of sneakers around. Because they're boys and they're on a bus. The bus driver and the coach yelled, and momentarily the bus stopped by the side of the road, while Ryan was informed that responsible young men his age did not behave like that. Ryan seemed interested, but it did not affect him particularly, and the moment the bus was back in traffic, the sneakers were back in the air. I love him, thought Althea. The sentence was astounding. She felt she must have shouted it out loud, turned it into a cheerleader's cheer and done it to claps and jumps. But no one was looking at her. Not even Ryan. I love him. He's mine. And I love him. Oh, the life that had been so dark and dreary. Only weeks later, and Althea's life sparkled and glittered like a tiara at a royal dance. She felt that she was composed of diamonds and emeralds, and that Ryan was rubies and sapphires. Her imagination ran into the future of high school, coursing through dances and yearbooks, committees and clubs. She saw herself with Ryan, wearing jeans and prom gowns, short skirts and Halloween costumes. She saw herself in the cafeteria, in the front lobby, in the art rooms, and at graduation. Popular. They are probably bullying some kid whose sneakers they are. But you notice, like, I feel like it's intentional and that only the adults reading it would actually pick up on it. That Althea has no interest in why they're doing this, or... Yeah, Althea has no interest in the victims. She's like, oh, the popular kids are laughing and having fun. That's so cute. I love it. Very telling. The boys got off the bus in a unit, sternly ordered. In fact, rudely ordered. The coach had a limited vocabulary and used it often. Not to distract themselves by looking at girls. Ryan said, I'm not going to look at girls. I'm just going to look at one. Althea. He grinned at her and she laughed back, and the entire cheerleading squad circled her, whispering and giggling and delighted and envious. Popular. The game was long and difficult. Once Ryan was thrown into the mud where he lay twisted and motionless. The coach and the ref ran out to him, but he got up, limped briefly, and was fine. Althea breathed again. Michael was brilliant. The sky was blue, the stands packed, the fans had stadium blankets over their legs and scarves around their throats. Pom-poms rustled and hands clap, clap, clapped. The smell of hot dogs and popcorn filled the air. Ms. Roundman said, You have the right spirit for cheerleading, Althea. That smile never leaves your face. That laugh is so infectious. I wouldn't be surprised if you became captain. You have what it takes. Yeah, Ryan falls down. No, my status symbol. My designer handbag. I'm thinking after this, when I stop being able to, like, speak out of my sore throat, I should do a dirtbag yoga, but just teach them, like, incredibly basic cheerleading stretches and shit, because it's the same thing as moving your arms and legs around, essentially. I'm not going to do anything difficult like jumps or fucking gymnastics or anything, because my kitchen's full of trash and I will fall into it. Dirtbag yoga, yeah. If I have energy for it after this, it's on. Teach you how to stretch to do the splits. Not the side splits, because fuck that, I can't do them. But the upsy downsy splits, which I did achieve a couple times. After a lot of warming up. I can teach you the basic arm positions for pom-poms. Couldn't even find my palms. Anyway, chapter 22. The vampire did not appear that night. He did not appear the following night, nor the night after that. I got rid of him, thought Althea. I really did it. Oh, Wow, I didn't even have to shut the shutters all the way. I just had to get powerful and knock him off the planet. Althea swaggered a little, laughed some, paraded through the house and circled the yard, kicking autumn leaves. No laughter like broken glass shattered the peaceful night. Her breath swirled like a dragon's in the cold winter air. She spent a night at Kimmy Joe's and went to a party at Dusty's. She and Ryan went to a movie alone together, and another night went with Michael and Constance. Constance was such a wonderful person. Althea decided to model herself on Constance. That's not what you want to do on Constance, sweetie. Homework was easy. Quizzes a snap. Teachers admired every word Althea contributed to discussions. Younger girls chose Althea as their favourite cheerleader, and the team won the next game. And then the first snow fell. The dark, bleak valley where Althea's house lay turned sparkling white, pure as true love. She swept the porch and the steps. The snow was dry and tossed in the air like miniature blizzards. The wind blew it back into her face, and she laughed with the joy of living. It was a night without stars or moon. It was very, very cold. Ryan, Michael, and Constance dropped her off, and Ryan kissed her goodbye, even in front of the others. And Constance said, "See you tomorrow, Althea." Michael tapped his horn goodbye. Althea stood on the bottom step, watching the red glow of their car lights disappear behind the hedge. Ryan was right, she thought. The dark is a friend. When you have friends like I do, like Constance and Michael and Ryan and Becky and all the rest, all the world is a friend too. And through the night came a laugh, like sandpaper scraping over skin. The vampire did not go through the crust. He walked over it, leaving no footprints. The winter wind grabbed his black cape and flung it around him one way and then another, so that he kept wrapping and unwrapping. The only things that gleamed in the dark night were his eyes and his fingernails. She knew that when he smiled, his teeth would also shine. The crisp, clean air turned foul. The silent night filled with the creaking of shutters, as if they were craning their necks to see the action. When she shifted position, the snow crackled beneath her boots, as if something were chewing on her ankles. She was cold, terribly cold, right to the marrow of her bones. But she said, "I thought you left." Briefly. "Now I'm back." "I don't need you," she said. "Go away and stay away." The vampire stared at her. His jaw dropped in disbelief, and for the first time she saw his tongue. It was pointed and curled up as if rolled in a can. And then he laughed. The pitch of laughter broke the ice that lined the bare branches. The ice fell into the snow below. He said, "You don't need me, Althea. Think again." She said, "I have thought, and I don't need you, and I won't cater to you. I'm too strong for you anyhow. I kept Becky safe." He took a step toward her. She stood her ground. He stank of rot and decay. She gagged. He took another step, and she could not be that close to him. She backed up, and he laughed again. He moved closer to her. She backed up again. He moved again. "Get away from me," she said fiercely. "No." The single syllable was uttered softly this time, and almost regretfully, as if something were about to happen that even the vampire would not enjoy. This time she dug her boots into the snow and did not let herself back up anymore. I will never again do anything you ask, she said. He raised his eyebrows. He sucked in his lower lip. The long white teeth inched down toward his chin. They glittered like icicles. They dripped as if melting. The vampire said, "All right." To show him that she was completely in control, Althea turned her back. She walked slowly into the kitchen. She shut the door firmly, but without slamming it, leaving him in the yard. She unlaced her boots, knocked the snow off them, and set them on the drying rack. She unzipped her heavy jacket and hung it in the coat closet. She took off her scarf, shook the snow away, and looped it around the hanger of her jacket. The vampire said, "But it will not be all right with you." Her head jerked up. He was standing on the first step of the stairs. His cape flared out by itself as if pinned to the walls. The vampire said, "Go to school tomorrow, Althea, without me, and see if it is all right. See if you need me. See how strong you are. See if you need to cater to my requests." She glared at him. "I saved Becky." "No. The location was too far. My dark path was weak. I could not complete the migration. You had nothing to do with it. Nor did Becky. It was simply an error in navigation and planning." "You're boring me," said Althea. She thought, "I'll just learn to live with it. He'll come by and nag. I'll walk around him, holding my breath. Eventually he'll get bored and go back where he came from." "No," said the vampire. "I'm rarely bored. Nor will I go back where I came from. You, Althea, are the one who will go back where she came from. Go back to being invisible, inaudible, unloved, unpopular." She shrugged. "Even Ryan won't know your name," said the vampire. "Get lost," said Althea. And now he smiled. A smile of joy. The evil crescent covered the entire bottom of his face. "All right, I will get lost. And when you want me back, Althea, I may refuse to come." This guy. He's a vampire. I don't really know what I don't want to spoil it. Now, I know I've only been going 30 minutes. Do we want to keep reading, find out what happens at school? Or do we want to split this into two halves, which I'll pick up back up in a couple hours? Because I think I need to have dinner and such. Well, not dinner, but breakfast and lunch and dinner. Because I woke up so late and then I forgot to eat before I started this. He's a bit of a role model for bastardry, yeah? Just a little bit. I know, Danny, I know you want to see, but I will pick it up in a few hours. Just once I'm fed and watered and such. Because this is a very dramatic place. Aw, you care me. I care. Vampire. And only vampire. Put a wig on that's not trying to pull itself off the back of my head because it's too heavy to stay on. And too bizarre to style. It's so thick. I might have to get like a proper hairdresser to actually cut it in a way that makes sense. Or some wig glue, that might help. Or I don't know what. Alright, a couple hours. We're going to reconvene back here. And for the 10 minutes that we're going to feed on the things that give you sustenance, we're going to spend the 10 minutes that we spend waiting for people to turn up doing a little bit of arm exercises with pom-poms, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to do there. Okay, see you guys in a couple hours.